Welcome back to this quiet space. You have traveled through the day, and now you have arrived at the shore of sleep. The waves are small, the breeze is warm, and the journey inward begins now. Chapter 1. The First Steps Beyond the Wall, where ancient stones hold night's breath. The stones beneath your feet are worn smooth by countless footsteps, each one a whisper from ages past. You walk slowly along the outer wall of this forgotten place, where the last light of evening has long since faded into the deep purple of night. The air carries the scent of old stone and distant rain, mixed with something else, something that speaks of time itself settling into these ancient blocks like dust into forgotten corners. Your footsteps echo softly against the massive stones that rise beside you, each one cut and placed by hands that knew the weight of eternity. The wall stretches endlessly in both directions, disappearing into shadows that seem to breathe with their own quiet life. Above you, the stars begin their slow dance across a sky so clear it feels like looking through water into another world entirely. The entrance appears before you like a doorway carved from night itself. Two great pillars stand guard, their surfaces worn smooth by wind and weather, covered in symbols that catch the faint starlight and hold it for just a moment before letting it slip away into darkness. Between these silent sentinels, the path continues inward, calling you with the gentle persistence of a stream flowing toward some distant sea. You pause at this threshold, feeling the cool air that flows outward from the city beyond. It carries with it the sound of water moving over stone, the soft rustle of fabric in a breeze you cannot yet feel, and beneath it all, the deep, quiet breathing of a place that has known 10,000 nights just like this one. The darkness beyond the entrance is not empty but full, pregnant with the presence of sleeping streets and dreaming houses. As you step through the gateway, the stones change beneath your feet. They are smaller here, fitted together with such precision that your footsteps make barely a whisper. The walls on either side of this entry passage are smooth and cool, worn by the touch of countless hands that have steadied themselves here while passing from the wild darkness of the outer world into the gentle darkness of home. The passage curves gently to the left, then to the right, like a river following its natural course through the landscape of night. With each step, the walls seem to grow warmer, as if they remember the sun that touched them hours ago and are reluctant to let that warmth fully escape into the cool embrace of evening. Your fingers trail along the stone, feeling the subtle variations in texture, the tiny imperfections that speak of human hands and human hope. Above your head, the passage opens to reveal a narrow strip of star-filled sky. The walls rise high on either side, creating a corridor of stone that frames the heavens like a window into forever. A single bat passes overhead, its wings silent as prayer, disappearing into the shadows that gather in the corners where wall meets sky. The sound of your breathing mingles with the soft echo of your footsteps, creating a rhythm that seems to match the slow pulse of this sleeping place. Each breath brings you deeper into the embrace of these ancient stones. Each step carries you further from the wild darkness outside and closer to the gentle darkness within. Somewhere ahead, you hear the distant sound of water falling, drop by drop, into a pool that has been catching such drops for centuries. The sound comes and goes like a heartbeat, regular and soothing, a reminder that even in this place of stone and shadow, life continues its quiet work of erosion and renewal. The passage opens suddenly into a small courtyard, circular and intimate, surrounded by walls that rise into the star-filled night. In the center stands a fountain, its waters catching the faint light that filters down from above. The water moves with barely audible whispers, flowing from one level to another, each drop finding its way home with the patience of years. You approach the fountain slowly, your footsteps muffled now by the soft moss that grows in the spaces between the stones. The water is clear and still at its surface, disturbed only by the gentle arrival of each new drop from above. In its depths, you glimpse the reflection of stars, wavering and uncertain, like memories of light preserved in liquid darkness. The rim of the fountain is carved from a single piece of stone, worn smooth by the touch of those who have paused here before you. Your hand finds its way to this familiar surface, feeling the coolness that seems to flow up from the water itself. The stone holds the memory of every hand that has rested here, every weary traveler who has stopped to drink and rest and wonder at the quiet miracle of water flowing endlessly in this place of ancient peace. Around the courtyard, 3 archways lead deeper into the city, each one framed by columns that twist upward like frozen smoke. The archway directly ahead is the widest, its opening dark and welcoming, filled with the promise of streets that wind through neighborhoods of sleeping houses and quiet gardens. To your left, a narrower passage disappears around a gentle curve, marked by the soft glow of a single lamp that burns with oil pressed from olives grown in terraced gardens beyond the city walls. The 3rd archway, to your right, is smallest of all, barely wide enough for 2 people to walk side by side. Yet from its depths comes the faintest hint of music, so soft and distant that you cannot be sure whether you hear it or simply remember hearing it in some dream of long ago. It might be the sound of a flute played by careful fingers, or perhaps nothing more than wind moving through spaces designed to sing. You choose the center path, drawn by its gentle darkness and the promise it holds of deeper mysteries waiting in the quiet heart of this place. The archway embraces you as you pass beneath it, its stones cool against your shoulders, its darkness welcoming as an old friend who has been waiting patiently for your return. Beyond the arch, the street opens before you like a river of stone flowing between houses that rise like gentle hills on either side. The buildings are built of the same pale stone as the walls, their surfaces softened by age and weather into something that seems almost alive in the starlight. Windows look down onto the street like sleepy eyes, their shutters closed against the night, their sills decorated with small pots of herbs that release their fragrance into the still air. Your footsteps continue their quiet conversation with the stones beneath, echoing softly between the houses, creating a rhythm that seems to match the slow breathing of the sleeping city around you. Each house you pass feels inhabited by dreams, filled with the gentle presence of those who have found peace within these walls of stone and time. Here and there, a single lamp burns in a window, its flame steady and small, casting just enough light to remind the darkness that life continues even in sleep. These lights are like stars that have come down to earth, choosing to shine not from the vast distance of the heavens, but from the intimate closeness of home. The street curves gently to follow the natural contours of the land beneath, never hurrying, never forcing its way through obstacles but finding the path of least resistance, the way water finds its course through a landscape. The houses follow this same patient philosophy, built to work with the stone and soil rather than against them, their walls rising organically from foundations that seem to grow out of the earth itself. As you walk, the night air grows warmer, filled with the accumulated heat that the stones have been storing since the sun touched them at dawn. This warmth rises from the street beneath your feet and flows down from the walls beside you, creating a gentle embrace that speaks of comfort and safety and the deep contentment that comes from being truly home. Chapter 2. Stone Paths Where Time Flows Gently. The warmth from the stones seems to pulse with a rhythm older than memory, a heartbeat that belongs not to any single living thing but to the city itself, breathing slowly through the long hours of night. You feel this rhythm in your footsteps as they find their natural pace along the ancient street, each step falling into harmony with something deeper than sound, deeper than sight. The cobblestones beneath your feet have been worn smooth by countless generations of night walkers, their edges rounded by the patient passage of time and weather. Each stone holds its place with quiet dignity, fitted so perfectly to its neighbors that the street feels like a single living surface, flowing like water made solid, carrying you forward on its gentle current. Here the houses lean closer together, their upper stories reaching toward each other across the narrow space between, creating a canopy of shadow and starlight. Windows glow softly in the darkness, their light filtered through curtains thin as morning mist, revealing only hints of the quiet lives unfolding within. A shadow moves past a window, slow and unhurried, perhaps someone preparing for sleep or tending to some small task that cannot wait until dawn. The air carries scents that speak of home and comfort. Wood smoke drifts down from chimneys where fires burn low, their flames settled into glowing coals that will keep the hearth warm until morning. There's the faint sweetness of bread that was baked hours ago and still lingers in the cooling ovens, the green smell of gardens where herbs grow in careful rows, their leaves heavy with night moisture. You turn into a side street that curves like a gentle question mark, following the natural fold of the land. The houses here are older, their walls built from stones that seem to have been chosen not for their uniformity, but for their character, each one different from its neighbors, each one finding its perfect place in the whole. Some stones are pale as bone, others dark as deep water, and together they create a tapestry that shifts and changes as your eyes move along the wall. A fountain whispers somewhere ahead, its voice so soft you almost mistake it for the wind. As you walk closer, the sound grows more distinct, the gentle conversation of water falling from stone to stone, pooling and spilling and finding its way onward. The fountain sits in a small square where 3 streets meet, its basin carved from a single piece of dark stone that gleams wetly in the starlight. The water falls from a simple spout, no grand decoration or elaborate design, just the honest marriage of stone and water that has been performing this same dance for centuries. You pause beside it, listening to the quiet music it makes, a sound that seems to carry within it all the rain that has ever fallen, all the springs that have ever bubbled up from deep places in the earth. The fountain's voice mingles with other soft sounds that drift through the night air. Somewhere, a shutter creaks gently in the breeze. A cat steps delicately along a rooftop, its paws making no sound but somehow announcing its presence through the subtle shift of shadows. From an open window comes the quiet rhythm of someone breathing deeply in sleep, peaceful and regular as ocean waves. The square around the fountain is paved with smooth stones that radiate outward in gentle curves, like ripples frozen in time. A few wooden benches sit in the shadows, their surfaces worn soft by weather and use. On one of them, carved so faintly you might miss it in daylight, someone long ago left the simple outline of a bird, perhaps a sparrow, its wings spread wide as if caught in the moment of taking flight. You leave the fountain behind, its whispered song fading gradually as you follow another street that slopes gently downward. The houses here are smaller, more humble, their gardens spilling over low walls in casual abundance. Night-blooming flowers open their pale faces to the darkness, releasing fragrances that are sweeter and more complex than their daylight cousins. These are flowers that have learned to find beauty in shadow, that save their most precious gifts for those who walk when the world is quiet. The street narrows further, becoming almost an alley, its walls so close you could reach out and touch both sides at once. But there is no feeling of confinement here, only intimacy, the sense of being held gently by the ancient stones. Overhead, laundry hangs on lines stretched between the buildings, white cloth ghostly in the starlight, moving just enough in the slight breeze to remind you that the air itself is alive and breathing. You pass beneath a low arch that spans the alley, its stones fitted together with such skill that no mortar shows between them. The arch has stood for so many years that moss has found footholds in its curves, soft green patches that add their own quiet life to the ancient construction. Through the arch, the alley opens again into a slightly wider space where a single tree grows, its branches reaching up toward the slice of sky visible between the rooftops. The tree is not large, but it has the presence of something that has found exactly where it belongs. Its leaves rustle softly, a sound like gentle applause, like approval given without words. At its base, someone has placed a small bench, just large enough for one person to sit and contemplate the quiet mystery of a tree that chose to grow in this particular spot, in this narrow space between human dwellings. The path continues, winding between buildings that seem to have grown rather than been built, their walls following the natural curves of the land beneath. Windows glow like jewels set in dark stone, each one a small celebration of light in the embrace of night. Behind the windows, you glimpse the suggestion of rooms where people live their quiet lives, spaces filled with the accumulated comfort of years, with objects that have found their perfect places and settled there like content cats. Sometimes you catch a glimpse through a doorway left slightly open to let in the night air, revealing courtyards where more fountains sing their water songs, where plants grow in earthenware pots arranged with the kind of casual care that speaks of deep attention. These are spaces meant for peace, for the slow contemplation of simple things, for the gradual understanding that beauty does not need to announce itself with trumpets but can whisper its truths through the arrangement of stone and water and growing green things. The night air grows cooler as you walk, carrying with it the promise of dawn still hours away. This coolness is gentle, refreshing rather than sharp, like the touch of water on warm skin. It carries scents that change as you move through different parts of the sleeping city. Now the dusty sweetness of stone that has absorbed a day's worth of sunshine. Now the green exhalation of gardens breathing out the moisture they have gathered from the night air. You pass a bakery where the ovens have cooled to just warm, their brick chambers holding the memory of the day's bread. The windows are dark, but the building itself seems to pulse gently with the residual heat of its daily work, the honest warmth of grain transformed into sustenance. Outside its door, a cat sleeps curled in a perfect circle, having found this spot where the warmth rises from the cooling stones, claiming it as the ideal place for dreams. The street curves again, always following the gentle logic of the land beneath, never forcing its way but finding the path of natural grace. This is a city built by people who understood that the best human constructions work with the world rather than against it, who knew that true permanence comes not from rigid strength but from flexible wisdom, from the ability to bend with the forces of time and weather and change. Chapter 3. Among the Sleeping Houses. You find yourself walking deeper into the residential quarter of this ancient city, where the streets narrow into intimate pathways between homes that have stood for countless generations. The cobblestones beneath your feet are worn smooth by the passage of time, polished by the daily rhythms of families who have called this place home for centuries upon centuries. Each stone fits perfectly against its neighbors, creating a surface that yields just slightly to your footsteps, soft enough to muffle sound, solid enough to support the weight of all the lives that have passed this way. The houses lean gently toward each other across the narrow street, their upper floors creating a canopy of shadow and shelter. These are not grand buildings, but humble dwellings, each one shaped by the needs and dreams of the people who built it, expanded it, modified it over the years. Some have small balconies where clay pots hold sleeping herbs, their leaves silver in the moonlight. Others show the evidence of children who once lived there, in the smooth patches on stone walls where small hands reached up to touch the same spot day after day, wearing the surface into something softer than the rest. You pause beside a house where a window glows very faintly from within, not with flame but with the gentle radiance of embers banked for the night. Someone inside tends a fire that will burn slowly until dawn, providing just enough warmth for sleep, just enough light to comfort those who might wake in the darkness. The window is covered with thin cloth that diffuses the light into something gentle and welcoming, creating a warm square of amber against the deeper shadows of the night. The scent of wood smoke drifts from this window, mixing with the cooler air of the street. It is the smell of security, of home, of human lives continuing their quiet patterns, even in sleep. This smoke carries with it the essence of the wood that feeds the fire, perhaps olive branches pruned from trees in nearby groves, or the aromatic timber of mountain cedars brought down by traders who understand that the right wood makes all the difference in the quality of warmth it provides. You continue walking, and your footsteps create a gentle rhythm that seems to harmonize with the breathing of the sleeping city. Step by step, you pass more houses, each one unique in its details but similar in its fundamental purpose of shelter and peace. Here is a door painted blue like the sky at dawn, its color faded now but still beautiful in the way that only time can make things beautiful, weathered into something deeper than mere decoration. There, a small garden grows in the space between two buildings, no larger than a room but carefully tended, filled with plants that release their fragrance most strongly at night. Night-blooming jasmine spirals up a wooden trellis, its white flowers glowing like tiny stars in the darkness. Below it, herbs grow in neat rows, their leaves holding the day's warmth and releasing it slowly into the cooling air. You can hear the soft sound of water flowing somewhere nearby, perhaps a fountain in a courtyard or a channel that brings fresh water to this quarter of the city. The sound is barely audible, just a whisper of movement that adds to the sense of peace that pervades these quiet streets. Water has always been precious here, channeled and guided with care, never wasted, always honored for the life it brings and sustains. A cat appears from the shadows and walks alongside you for a few steps, its paws silent on the worn stones. It regards you with the calm curiosity that belongs to creatures who have made their peace with the night, who understand that darkness is not something to fear but simply another way of being in the world. After a moment, the cat disappears into a narrow alley between houses, following its own mysterious purposes. You notice how each house tells the story of the lives lived within it. Here, strings of onions and dried peppers hang from the eaves, provisions prepared for the months ahead, evidence of the careful planning that allows communities to thrive in distant places. There, a pair of sandals sits neatly beside a door, worn smooth by daily use but cared for, mended where necessary, treated as valuable possessions in a place where everything useful is treasured. The street curves again, following the natural contours of the land, and you find yourself looking down into a small square where several streets converge. In the center stands an ancient tree, its trunk thick with age, its branches spreading wide enough to shade the entire space during the day. Now, in the night, it creates a different kind of shelter, a place where shadows gather and disperse, where the gentle sound of leaves moving in the breeze provides a constant soothing whisper. Beneath this tree, a simple stone bench offers a place to rest, its surface worn smooth by countless people who have sat here over the years, watching the life of the neighborhood unfold around them. You can imagine the conversations that have taken place on this bench, the quiet moments of reflection, the children who have played in the shade of these branches while their parents talked of the small, important matters that make up daily life. The houses surrounding this small square are slightly larger than those in the narrower streets, their windows more numerous, their doorways broader. These might be the homes of craftspeople whose work requires more space, or families that have grown over the generations, adding rooms as children were born and began families of their own. Each addition has been made with care, designed to harmonize with what came before while meeting new needs. You walk slowly around the square, taking in the details that reveal themselves in the gentle moonlight. Here is a workshop where the tools of a woodcarver hang neatly on hooks beside the door, each one shaped by use into an extension of skilled hands. There is a house where someone has planted climbing roses around the entrance, their blooms now closed for the night, but their thorny stems creating an intricate pattern against the pale stone wall. The night air carries new scents as you move through this quieter space, the green smell of the old tree mixing with hints of cooking from earlier in the evening, traces of bread and herbs, and the sweet oil used for lamps. These are the accumulated fragrances of human habitation, the evidence of lives lived in comfort and community, of people who have found ways to create beauty and meaning in their daily routines. You settle for a moment on the stone bench beneath the tree, feeling the coolness of the stone through your clothes, listening to the soft sounds of the sleeping neighborhood around you. Somewhere, a baby cries briefly and is quickly comforted. From another direction comes the low murmur of voices, perhaps someone unable to sleep sharing quiet words with a companion. These sounds are not disturbances but confirmations of life continuing its gentle course, of human connection that persists even in the deepest hours of night. The tree above you stirs in a breath of wind that barely reaches the ground level, its leaves rustling with a sound like distant rain. This tree has stood here longer than any of the houses, longer than the lives of anyone who might remember its planting. It has become a fixed point around which the community has organized itself, a center that provides both practical shade and something deeper, something about continuity and endurance, and the slow wisdom that comes from remaining in one place long enough to understand its rhythms completely. Chapter 4. Central Square, in moonlight, the stillness of night waters. From the shelter of the ancient tree, your steps carry you toward the heart of the settlement, where the stone pathways converge into something wider and more open. The transition happens gradually, the narrow lanes between houses giving way to broader spaces, the intimate scale of residential courtyards expanding into the communal realm that belongs to everyone and no one in particular. The central square opens before you like a clearing in a forest of stone, a circular space paved with worn blocks that have been polished smooth by countless feet over countless seasons. In daylight, this place pulses with activity, with merchants arranging their goods and children running between the stalls, with the voices of people conducting the practical business of living together in community. But now, in the deep quiet of night, it has returned to its essential nature, as simply space itself, emptiness that invites contemplation rather than action. At the center of this open area stands a fountain, its circular basin carved from a single piece of pale stone that seems to gather what little light the moon provides and hold it like cupped water. The fountain is not grand or elaborate, containing no statuary or decorative flourishes that might announce the wealth or power of its creators. Instead, it speaks of something more fundamental, the recognition that water is precious and that the act of bringing it to the center of communal life is itself a form of reverence. Water falls from the central spout in a thin, steady stream, creating a sound that is barely more than a whisper, but carries clearly in the still air. The sound has a rhythmic quality, not quite musical but possessing its own kind of measured cadence, like the breathing of someone in deep sleep or the distant heartbeat of the earth itself. This sound has continued through every hour of every day since the fountain was built, becoming part of the acoustic landscape of the settlement, a constant presence that residents no longer consciously notice but would miss immediately if it were to stop. You approach the fountain's edge, where the stone rim provides a place for sitting and thinking, for the casual conversations that happen when people pause in their daily activities to rest for a moment in the shade. The stone is cool beneath your touch, retaining the temperature of night rather than the warmth that the day's sun would have given it. Running your fingers along its surface, you can feel the slight variations that speak of human craftsmanship, the subtle imperfections that distinguish work done by hand from the machine-perfect smoothness of later ages. The water in the basin is dark and still except where the central stream disturbs its surface, creating gentle ripples that spread outward in perfect circles before disappearing at the stone edges. Looking down into this water, you see fragments of the moon's face reflected and broken and reformed by the movement of the surface, a constantly shifting image that seems to capture something essential about the nature of perception itself, the way understanding comes and goes and comes again, never quite the same twice. Around the square, the buildings stand like silent witnesses, their windows dark except for the occasional warm glow that suggests someone still awake, perhaps reading by lamplight or tending to a child who cannot sleep. These buildings are not uniform in design but share certain characteristics, a common vocabulary of arched doorways and covered walkways, of stone construction that speaks to permanence while allowing for the individual expression of different builders and different generations. The colonnade that runs along one side of the square creates a covered walkway where people can gather during rain or intense sun, where merchants set up their stalls on market days, where evening conversations naturally collect as the day's heat begins to fade. Now these archways frame geometric patterns of shadow and faint light, creating a rhythm of dark and bright that draws the eye along in its length and suggests infinity, as if this covered path might continue beyond the edges of vision into regions unknown. Above the square, the sky opens wide and unobstructed, offering a view of stars that city dwellers in later ages will rarely glimpse. These stars shine with the clarity that comes only when artificial light does not compete with their ancient radiance, when the darkness between them is truly dark and serves to emphasize rather than diminish their presence. Looking up at this stellar display, you become aware of your place within vastness, of the particular quality of human scale when measured against cosmic distances. The silence here is not empty but full, containing layers of quiet sound that only become audible when you stop moving and let your hearing adjust to subtlety. There is the fountain's gentle murmur, constant and soothing. There is the almost inaudible whisper of night breeze moving through the archways and around the corners of buildings. Occasionally, very faintly, comes the sound of footsteps from somewhere beyond the square, someone else moving through the sleeping settlement on errands or contemplations of their own. This square serves as more than just a practical gathering place. It functions as the settlement's center of gravity, the point around which daily life organizes itself, the place where individual paths intersect with community rhythms. In daylight, it buzzes with the energy of transaction and social exchange, with the voices of people who know each other well and those meeting for the first time, with the comfortable chaos of a community going about its business. But in these night hours, it reveals another aspect of its character, becoming a space for solitude within community, for the kind of thinking that requires both privacy and connection to something larger than individual concerns. Sitting here by the fountain, you are alone but not isolated, part of the settlement even while separated from its sleeping inhabitants by the natural boundaries that night creates around consciousness. The moonlight creates its own geography across the square, dividing the paved surface into zones of relative brightness and deeper shadow, creating paths that exist only in this light and will be completely different when the sun returns. Following these paths of illumination with your eyes, you trace routes that no practical purpose governs, patterns that exist purely as visual phenomena, as reminders that beauty appears everywhere when you slow down enough to notice its presence. The air carries scents that speak of the day's activities now concluded. There are traces of cooking, the lingering aromas of bread and roasted grain, and the herbs that grow in kitchen gardens. There is the clean smell of stone after evening washing, when the square was cleaned of the day's dust and debris. Underneath these immediate scents lies something deeper, the accumulated fragrance of human habitation, of lives lived in proximity to each other, of traditions that have created their own distinctive atmosphere over time. Sitting in this quiet space, you become aware of the particular quality of rest that comes not from the absence of activity, but from activity temporarily suspended, from the knowledge that life continues all around you in the form of peaceful sleep and quiet contemplation. This is not emptiness, but fullness. Not the end of something, but the pause between movements of an ongoing composition, the space between breaths that makes breathing possible. Chapter 5. Whispers of Knowledge, Sense of Ancient Wisdom. From this central square, pathways branch into the quieter districts of the settlement, leading toward structures that house different aspects of community life. One such path, barely visible in the moonlight, winds between low buildings toward a larger structure that stands apart from the residential quarters. Your feet find this path naturally, following worn stones that countless others have traversed in their own moments of restless contemplation. The building ahead reveals itself gradually as you approach. Its walls rise higher than those of the surrounding homes, constructed from the same weathered stone but with more deliberate architectural intention. Narrow windows punctuate the facade at regular intervals, their openings dark now but suggesting the presence of interior spaces designed for activities that require both light and privacy. The entrance stands partially open, as if welcoming those who seek what lies within during these quiet hours. Stepping across the threshold, you enter a space that immediately announces its purpose through the quality of the air itself. There is a particular atmosphere here, one created by the accumulated presence of written knowledge and the materials that preserve it. The scent of parchment permeates everything, that distinctive aroma of processed animal skin that has been prepared to receive ink and preserve words across generations. Mixed with this is the earthier smell of dust, not the harsh dust of neglect, but the softer accumulation that comes from age and quiet use. The interior space extends farther than the exterior suggested, with walls lined from floor to ceiling with wooden shelves that hold scrolls and bound volumes in various states of preservation. Some appear frequently handled, their edges softened by countless careful unrollings and re-rollings. Others seem untouched for seasons, their surfaces carrying the fine layer of dust that speaks of knowledge waiting patiently for the right moment to be rediscovered. The arrangement follows no immediately obvious system, suggesting an organic accumulation of written works rather than a rigid cataloging approach. Moonlight filters through the narrow windows, creating pools of pale illumination that fall across reading surfaces placed at strategic intervals throughout the space. These surfaces, worn smooth by years of use, bear the subtle indentations and stains that mark places where countless individuals have engaged with written words, following arguments and narratives and records that connect this moment to all the moments that preceded it. Your footsteps sound different here, absorbed partially by the accumulated knowledge that fills the space, but also creating a gentle echo that reminds you of the volume of air contained within these walls. The sound suggests both intimacy and vastness, the particular acoustic quality that emerges when materials designed to preserve information share space with human presence seeking understanding, or simply the comfort of being surrounded by the written thoughts of others. Moving deeper into the repository, you discover that the space extends beyond what the initial view revealed. Corridors branch off from the main chamber, leading to smaller alcoves dedicated to specific types of documents or subjects. The organization here seems to follow intuitive rather than systematic principles, with related materials clustering together through use patterns rather than predetermined classification schemes. In one alcove, scrolls dealing with agricultural practices rest alongside documents recording weather patterns and seasonal observations. The connection between these subjects emerges naturally from the practical needs of community life, where understanding the relationship between climate and cultivation requires access to both theoretical knowledge and recorded experience. The parchment in this section carries a particular texture, suggesting frequent consultation during times when such information becomes essential for community survival. Another area houses what appear to be records of community decisions and agreements, documents that serve both historical and practical functions. These show evidence of regular reference, with certain passages marked by the subtle discoloration that comes from careful handling over time. The ink used in these documents varies in quality and color, reflecting different periods of creation and the availability of materials during those times. The air circulation in this space follows patterns created by the arrangement of shelves and the placement of windows. Cool air enters through openings facing the night and moves through the repository in currents that help preserve the written materials while creating subtle movements that prevent the atmosphere from becoming stagnant. This circulation carries with it the various scents of the different types of documents, creating a constantly shifting olfactory landscape that speaks of knowledge in its many forms. Settling into a space where moonlight creates sufficient illumination for quiet contemplation, you become aware of the particular quality of silence that exists here. This is not the empty silence of abandonment, but the full silence of accumulated human thought and expression. Each scroll and volume represents countless hours of human attention, of individuals working to capture and preserve understanding for those who would come after them. The knowledge stored here spans the practical and the philosophical, the immediate needs of daily life and the broader questions that emerge when communities have sufficient stability to support sustained inquiry. Technical manuals for various crafts rest near contemplative writings that explore questions without definitive answers. Maps showing trade routes share space with documents recording the oral histories that help maintain community identity across generations. Time moves differently in this environment. The preservation of written knowledge creates a kind of temporal layering where past and present coexist in the form of accessible information. Reading becomes a form of conversation across time, with current questions finding dialogue with previous insights and observations. The physical act of unrolling a scroll or opening a bound volume creates a bridge between the moment of writing and the moment of reading, connecting individual consciousness across the spans that separate their existence. The quality of thought that emerges in such spaces takes on characteristics influenced by the environment itself. Surrounded by the recorded thoughts of others, individual contemplation naturally expands to include broader perspectives. Questions that might seem overwhelming when considered alone become more manageable when placed in context with the accumulated wisdom and experience that these walls contain. Understanding develops through dialogue with written voices that offer their insights without imposing their conclusions. The materials themselves participate in this process of knowledge transmission. Parchment ages in ways that add layers of meaning to the words it carries. The physical changes that occur over time become part of the document's communication, reminding readers that knowledge exists within time and carries the marks of its journey through seasons and years and generations of human attention. Chapter 6. Gardens of Night, Blooming Fragrance, Ancient Herbs in Moonlight. The corridors gradually open toward spaces where the boundaries between indoor and outdoor begin to soften. Stone walls give way to archways that frame glimpses of cultivated areas where moonlight falls on carefully tended plants. The air carries new layers of scent, subtle at first, then more distinct as you move closer to these garden spaces that exist as extensions of the indoor world. Night-blooming plants release their fragrances into the cool air, creating invisible pathways of scent that guide attention from one growing area to another. The perfume of these flowers operates on a different schedule than the visual world, opening its offerings to the darkness when fewer distractions compete for notice. Each variety contributes its own note to the complex symphony of night garden aromatics. Herbs grow in organized beds near the walkways, their leaves holding the warmth of the day and releasing it slowly into the evening air. Sage and lavender mix with varieties that have no familiar names, plants cultivated over generations for their particular contributions to the nighttime atmosphere. The fragrance rises and settles, creating layers in the air that shift with the gentlest movements of the night breeze. Water moves through these garden spaces in narrow channels carved into stone, carrying moisture and the sound of its passage from one growing area to the next. The presence of water enhances the release of plant fragrances, creating humidity that holds the scented air close to the ground where it can be fully appreciated by those who walk these paths after sunset. The planting arrangements follow patterns that seem both intentional and natural, as if the gardens had grown according to some internal logic that balanced human design with the preferences of the plants themselves. Taller herbs create shelter for smaller ones, while flowering vines find their way up stone supports that were placed to accommodate their climbing nature. These outdoor spaces exist as extensions of the indoor reading areas, places where contemplation continues under open sky. Stone benches, positioned among the plantings, offer places to sit and absorb the night atmosphere, where the boundary between thinking and simply being present becomes less important than the experience of existing within this carefully created environment. The scents that rise from the garden beds change throughout the night as different plants respond to variations in temperature and humidity. What begins as one aromatic experience gradually transforms into another, creating a progression of olfactory encounters that unfolds without human direction or control. Moonlight filtering through the leaves creates patterns of light and shadow that shift as the night advances, adding visual complexity to spaces that depend primarily on scent and sound for their effect. The interplay between visible and invisible elements of the garden experience creates depth that extends beyond what any single sense could provide. The cultivation of these plants represents knowledge accumulated over long periods of time, understanding passed from one generation of gardeners to another about which varieties thrive in this climate, which combinations of plantings create the most pleasing effects, and how to maintain the delicate balance that allows both wild and domestic plants to flourish in proximity. Pathways wind between the planted areas, surfaced with materials that make minimal sound underfoot while providing sure footing in the darkness. The routes through the garden encourage a slow pace of movement, allowing time for the full appreciation of each area's particular characteristics before continuing to the next. The fragrance of these night gardens creates associations that connect the present moment with memories of other times and places where similar scents were encountered. The experience becomes layered with personal history, while simultaneously offering something new and immediate that belongs entirely to this present encounter with this particular arrangement of plants and pathways. These garden spaces demonstrate how human planning can work with natural processes to create environments that serve purposes beyond mere utility or decoration. The night-blooming plants offer their fragrances as gifts to the darkness, creating beauty that exists primarily for its own sake, available to anyone who chooses to be present in these spaces when their offerings are at their most generous. Chapter 7. Sacred Spaces in Candlelight. Beyond the gardens, pathways lead toward structures where different purposes gather the community in quieter observances. These buildings rise from the stone foundations with walls that have absorbed centuries of whispered prayers and silent contemplation. The architecture speaks of intentions focused inward, away from the daily concerns that occupy most hours, toward questions that have no immediate answers but somehow require regular attention. You approach these sacred spaces through courtyards where the night air carries the faint scent of incense that has been offered throughout countless evenings. The fragrance mingles with the stone dust and the moisture that collects in corners where shadows remain deepest. These courtyards provide transitional spaces between the everyday pathways and the more formal entrances to the places of worship and reflection. The doorways to these spiritual spaces are designed to encourage a change of pace and attention. Wide steps lead upward, each one requiring a deliberate placement of the foot, a conscious decision to continue the ascent toward the interior spaces. The height of these entrances creates a sense of crossing a threshold between different modes of being present in the world. Inside these buildings, the darkness takes on a different quality. Candles provide the primary illumination, their flames creating circles of golden light that reach only short distances before dissolving into shadow. The placement of these candles follows patterns that have been refined over generations of use, positioning light where it serves the practical needs of movement while preserving the contemplative atmosphere that deeper shadows provide. The candle flames respond to subtle air currents that move through these spaces, creating gentle fluctuations in the intensity and reach of the illumination. These movements of light across stone surfaces produce constantly shifting patterns that capture attention without demanding it, offering a focus for eyes and mind that requires no effort to maintain, yet provides an anchor for consciousness that might otherwise drift into restless concern with matters beyond this present moment. The walls of these spiritual spaces display the marks of their long use. Smooth patches where countless hands have touched stone surfaces while passing. Darker areas where the smoke from thousands of candles has gradually tinted the original color of the building materials. These signs of accumulated human presence create a sense of participation in something that extends far beyond the current moment of individual experience. Alcoves along the walls contain objects that serve as focal points for different forms of contemplation and prayer. Simple bowls for offerings, small sculptures that represent concepts rather than specific figures, arrangements of stones that have been selected for their particular qualities of color or texture. These objects invite attention without insisting upon any particular interpretation or response. The acoustics of these spaces transform even the quietest sounds. Footsteps become whispers against the stone floors. The rustle of fabric takes on significance. Breathing becomes audible, not as disturbance but as confirmation of life continuing its essential processes even in the midst of attempts to achieve stillness and clarity of awareness. Other people move through these spaces with the careful attention that the environment encourages. Their presence registers as gentle disturbances in the candlelight, momentary changes in the patterns of shadow, soft sounds of movement that confirm the shared nature of these experiences while respecting the individual character of each person's encounter with whatever questions or gratitude or wonder has brought them to these particular places at this particular time. The ceiling heights in these buildings allow sound to rise and dissipate rather than reflecting immediately back to ground level. This creates a sense that words or thoughts released into the air here might travel further than usual, might find resonance with something larger than the immediate physical surroundings. Whether such impressions correspond to anything beyond the effects of architectural proportions seems less important than the quality of experience they enable. Passages between different areas within these sacred buildings maintain the contemplative atmosphere while allowing for various forms of observance to occur simultaneously. Narrow corridors connect smaller chambers designed for individual reflection with larger halls where community gatherings take place. The transitions between these spaces preserve the sense of moving through environments specifically designed to support different qualities of attention and awareness. The temperature in these stone buildings remains cool throughout the night, requiring those who spend extended time here to wrap themselves in heavier clothing or blankets. This physical sensation of coolness contributes to the alertness that contemplative practices often seek to cultivate. The body remains aware of its immediate circumstances, while the mind engages with less tangible concerns. In corners where the candlelight barely reaches, objects rest that serve ritual purposes during certain seasons or occasions. Vessels for holding water or oil, lengths of cloth in colors that carry significance within the traditions observed here. Musical instruments designed to produce sounds that complement rather than dominate the natural acoustics of these stone spaces. These objects wait in readiness, their presence adding to the sense that these buildings serve purposes that cycle through the year according to rhythms both human and natural. The maintenance of these sacred spaces requires constant attention to small details. Replacing candles before they burn too low. Cleaning the holders where wax has accumulated. Sweeping floors where dust collects in patterns that reveal the most frequent paths of movement through the rooms. These tasks of upkeep become forms of service that connect physical care of the environment with the spiritual purposes the buildings serve. Chapter 8. From the Tower, Stars Above. The stone steps that wind upward through the central tower of this settlement carry you higher into the cool night air. Each step worn smooth by countless feet over generations, the surfaces polished to a gentle gleam that catches what little light filters through narrow windows cut into the thick walls. Your footsteps echo softly in the enclosed spiral, a rhythm that matches the slow beating of your heart as you climb toward the upper reaches of this ancient structure. The air grows thinner as you ascend, carrying with it the sense of the world below. Wood smoke from hearths that burn low through the night hours. The mineral smell of stone that has absorbed moisture from countless seasonal rains and released it again into dry summer air. Traces of herbs that grow in gardens tucked between buildings, their leaves releasing fragrance even in the darkness. Through the narrow windows that punctuate your climb, glimpses of the settlement spread below reveal themselves in fragments. A courtyard where fountains continue their gentle murmuring through the night. Rooftops that step down the hillside like broad stone shelves, each level supporting the structures built upon the next. Gardens that appear as darker patches among the pale stone, their plantings invisible in the darkness, but their presence suggested by the regular patterns of their arrangement. The tower rises from the heart of the settlement, its foundation reaching deep into the bedrock that supports this entire community. Its walls hold the accumulated warmth of each day, releasing it slowly into the cooler night air. This thermal mass creates subtle currents of air that move through the spiral stairway, carrying sounds from the world below up to the heights where you now walk. As you emerge onto the uppermost level, the night sky opens above you in its full vastness. The circular platform at the tower's crown provides a complete view of the horizon in all directions. Stars shine with a clarity that comes only in places far from the scattered lights of more populous regions. The darkness between the stars seems deeper here, more complete, as if the night sky were a vast fabric into which points of light had been carefully sewn by hands that understood the patterns they were creating. The settlement spreads below you like a map drawn in shadows and subtle variations of darkness. The main streets that connect different quarters of the community trace curves that follow the natural contours of the land. Smaller paths branch from these primary routes, leading to clusters of buildings that house the various crafts and trades that sustain daily life. Even in the darkness, the logic of the settlement's organization becomes clear from this elevated perspective. To the north, the land rises toward hills that appear as darker silhouettes against the star-filled sky. Ancient forests cover these slopes, their canopy creating a texture that suggests the presence of countless individual trees while revealing none of their specific details. During daylight hours, these forests provide timber for construction and fuel for the hearths below. At night, they rest in silence, broken only by the occasional call of creatures that make their homes among the trees. Southward, the land falls away toward distant plains that extend beyond the range of vision, even in full daylight. Trade routes cross these flatlands, connecting this settlement with other communities scattered across the wider region. Merchants travel these paths during the warmer months, bringing goods that cannot be produced locally and carrying away the surplus of what this settlement creates through its various crafts and agriculture. The eastern horizon shows the faintest suggestion of the mountains that rise there, their peaks invisible in the darkness, but their presence felt in the way the night wind carries different scents and temperatures. During the clear days of late summer, these mountains appear as a blue wall along the edge of the world, their snow-covered summits catching the first and last light of each day. To the west, the land continues in gentle rolling hills similar to those that support this settlement. Other communities exist in that direction, their lights too distant to be seen from here, but their presence known through the regular contact maintained by travelers who move between the various settlements that share this region. Standing on this elevated platform, you become aware of the way the night air moves across the landscape. Currents that begin in the higher elevations flow down through valleys and across the open ground, carrying the accumulated coolness of stone and earth that has released the day's heat into the darkness above. These movements of air create subtle changes in temperature and humidity that your skin registers even when your conscious mind focuses on other elements of the nighttime environment. The stars above arrange themselves in patterns that the inhabitants of this settlement have observed and named according to their own traditions. These stellar configurations provide a calendar that marks the progression of seasons and indicates the appropriate times for various agricultural activities. The knowledge of these star patterns passes from one generation to the next through careful observation and patient instruction, creating a connection between the community below and the vast spaces above. From this height, the sounds of the settlement reach you in a different way than they do at ground level. Individual voices and specific activities blend into a general murmur that speaks of ongoing life without revealing its particular details. The fountains in various courtyards contribute their water sounds to this overall acoustic environment. Occasionally, the call of a night bird adds its voice to the mixture, reminding you that the human community exists within a larger community of living creatures. The stone platform where you stand has been shaped with subtle curves that direct rainwater toward drains that carry it down through the interior of the tower to cisterns below. Even this practical engineering becomes part of the aesthetic experience of being in this place. The curves create gentle variations in the surface that please the eye while serving their functional purpose. This integration of beauty and utility reflects principles that guide the creation of all structures within this settlement. Looking down into the courtyards below, you can sometimes catch the flicker of candlelight through windows or the glow of embers in outdoor fire pits where people gather for conversation that extends into the night hours. These points of warm light create tiny pools of illumination that emphasize rather than diminish the encompassing darkness. They suggest human presence and activity without overwhelming the natural rhythms of the night. The temperature at this elevation drops noticeably compared to the sheltered spaces below. The stone platform radiates away the heat it absorbed during daylight hours, and the constant movement of air prevents any accumulation of warmth. This coolness sharpens your awareness of the physical reality of being in this place at this time, creating a clarity of sensation that complements the visual clarity of the star-filled sky above. Chapter 9. Rivers flow through stone, carrying time. From this elevated vantage point, you begin to notice the subtle sound of water moving through channels carved into the bedrock far below. The river that sustains this settlement flows not around the structures but through them, following pathways that were carved when the first foundations were laid generations ago. The water enters the settlement through natural gorges in the surrounding cliffs and emerges again downstream, having passed beneath bridges, through courtyards, and along carefully maintained channels that serve both practical and contemplative purposes. The sound reaches you as a whisper of constant motion, so quiet that you might miss it entirely if your attention were focused elsewhere. But here, in the stillness of the night air, the water's presence becomes part of the acoustic landscape of this place. It speaks of continuity and of the passage of time measured not in years, but in the gradual wearing away of stone by patient flow. Following the stone steps down from the tower platform, you move toward the source of these water sounds. The steps wind between buildings that show evidence of their relationship to the waterways below. Drainage channels are carved into the sides of walkways, and small bridges span gaps where water passes from one level to another. The integration of water management into the daily architecture speaks of understanding developed over long periods of careful observation. The path leads you to a broad terrace where the river flows through an opening in the stone wall that surrounds this part of the settlement. Here, the water moves with more audible presence, though still quietly enough not to disturb the contemplative atmosphere of the night. The terrace extends over the water, supported by stone arches that frame views of the flowing surface below. Moonlight catches the gentle movement of the current, creating patterns of light and shadow that shift continuously but never dramatically. The water reflects fragments of the stone walls and the occasional point of candlelight from windows in the buildings that line both sides of the channel. These reflections stretch and compress as the surface moves, creating visual rhythms that complement the soft acoustic presence of the flow. Standing at the edge of the terrace, you can see how the water level has been carefully controlled by a series of subtle barriers and channels that regulate its flow without creating any harsh sounds of turbulence. The engineering works with the natural inclinations of the water rather than fighting against them, guiding the flow while allowing it to maintain its essential character as a moving, living element of the settlement's daily existence. Chapter 10. The Final Hours of Night, Approaching Dawn. The terrace becomes a place of perfect stillness, where time seems to slow further than it has throughout this long night. You remain at the water's edge, watching the gentle patterns that moonlight creates on the surface, feeling how the night air carries just the faintest hint of coolness that suggests dawn still lies hours away in the distance. Your footsteps are quieter now, as if the night itself has taught you to move more softly across the worn stones. The sound of the water below provides a constant, gentle presence that fills the spaces between your breaths, creating a rhythm that matches the gradual slowing of your heartbeat as rest begins to call more insistently. Along the walls that border the terrace, small alcoves hold bowls of oil with floating wicks that burn with flames so low they barely illuminate the stone around them. These tiny lights cast no shadows, only the softest glow that seems to emanate from within the stone itself, as if the walls have absorbed centuries of such gentle illumination and now release it back into the night. The settlement around you has grown even more quiet, if such a thing were possible. The few windows that still showed candlelight have dimmed, leaving only the most essential illumination burning in scattered places throughout the buildings that rise on both sides of the water channel. The silence feels complete now, not empty but full of the accumulated peace that comes when a community settles into the deepest hours of rest. You find yourself walking more slowly along the terrace, your pace naturally adjusting to match the unhurried flow of the water below. Each step carries you past stone benches, worn smooth by countless others who have stood here in similar moments, watching the same patterns of light play across the water's surface, feeling the same gentle pull toward rest that now draws at the edges of your consciousness. The air moves differently here by the water, carrying scents of stone and moisture, and the faint mineral sweetness that speaks of underground springs and ancient channels carved through rock. These fragrances seem to settle into your breathing, creating a natural rhythm that encourages deeper, slower inhalation and longer, more complete release. From somewhere far above, the sound of a nightbird calls once across the settlement, its voice soft and distant, adding a single note to the quiet symphony of water and gentle air movement that surrounds you. The call fades into the larger silence, leaving only the continuous presence of the flowing stream and the soft whisper of your clothing as you move along the stone walkway. The moonlight shifts gradually as the night progresses, changing the patterns on the water and altering the way shadows fall across the terrace and the walls that contain this peaceful space. These changes happen so slowly as to be almost imperceptible, yet they mark the passage of time in the most gentle way possible, reminding you that even in stillness, everything continues its slow dance toward dawn. Your hand traces along the stone balustrade that edges the terrace, feeling the subtle textures that countless hands have polished smooth over generations of similar night wanderings. The stone holds a memory of warmth from the day just past, though it feels cool now against your palm, creating a pleasant contrast that grounds you in this moment while encouraging the natural drift toward deeper relaxation. The water below continues its patient journey through the settlement, carrying with it reflections of the few remaining lights and fragments of moonlight that break and reform with each gentle movement of the current. Watching this continuous flow, your breathing begins to synchronize with the rhythm of the water, creating a natural meditation that requires no effort or attention, only the simple act of being present in this quiet space. As the night deepens around you, the boundary between wakefulness and rest becomes softer, less defined. The peaceful sounds of water and the gentle movement of air through the stone passages seem to cradle your awareness, supporting it without demanding attention, allowing your mind to drift naturally toward the edge of sleep while your body remains supported by the solid presence of the ancient stones beneath your feet. The settlement sleeps around you now, its inhabitants long since settled into their beds in rooms warmed by the day's accumulated heat and softened by the night's embrace. You become part of this larger rest, your presence on the terrace connecting you to the communal peace that settles over the entire community like a gentle blanket woven from moonlight and flowing water. Your steps grow softer still, barely disturbing the silence as you move along the water's edge, feeling how the night air grows more still, more welcoming with each passing moment. The gentle sounds around you begin to blur together into a unified presence that supports rather than stimulates awareness, encouraging the natural drift toward sleep that comes when the body and mind find themselves in perfect harmony with their surroundings. The water flows on beneath the stone arches, carrying with it the soft reflections of this peaceful night and the memory of your quiet passage along its banks. In this ancient place where time moves differently, where rest comes naturally and dreams are born from the marriage of moonlight and flowing water, consciousness begins its gentle fade into the welcoming darkness of peaceful sleep.